It's nice to have your company on the sounding board for Drink Wise. If you're choosing to drink, choose to drink wise. It's the usual slot, Tuesday morning, nice and early, episode 12, series 11. Craig Hutchison, Damian Barrett with you in the South Bank studios. And I sometimes like to start the show, Hutchie, just with updating our many, many listeners on your movements. And I love your little travel plans. I couldn't keep up with your life. I never would have been able to. But Perth spottings, but not just Perth. I know you've got a big business connection there, but a favourite place of mine from many, many a year ago. Gloucester Park Harness Racing Friday night.
I was there Friday night, Damo.
Yeah,
Well spotted.
I love it.
I don't know how you worked that out because your great mate, Adam Hamilton, your best mate was there.
Well, it wasn't Adam who told me, strangely enough.
Yep.
Yes.
Adam, your best friend is Adam Hamilton, who
Correct.
works at Entain, and he is a big deal. He's like the Tom Brady of the trots. When he turns up, because he had that 20-year career as the Herald Sun chief trots rider, they pay apart. It's like they queue for hundreds of metres to get selfies with him.
He's the Rex Hunt equivalent of the AFL world in the harness racing world,
Yeah.
at the peak of Rex Hunt's powers.
You're very good. Anyway, so that's your great mate. And it was a fabulous night there. They did a sensational job with the Western Trilogy on the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
The three events, the Thursday night dogs, the Friday night trots, and the Saturday races.
Oh, they wrapped it all up.
And I was back Saturday night. So well spotted, Damo.
Yep.
Fantastic. How are you?
You make a lot of fun out of me covering Shield cricket way back in the day, which I did, and I used to go across to Perth, believe it or not, to cover Shield cricket, and then beautifully timing over Perth because the match had finished in the evening in Melbourne time, or the day's played finished, and then you just quickly file your story and just head across from the Wacker, basically across the road to Gloucester Park.
And I had a couple of Derby lunches on the Friday, Damo. Spoke at the North Fremantle B-grade amateurs. So
Did you?
Yep.
Keynote speaker?
Well, B-grade guest for a B-grade event, I guess, B-grade team. No, they were fabulous.
My spies didn't get me that one. They told me you're at the Ascot Racecourse for the Quokka, where my favourite horse, Jigsaw, won.
The West Australian economy is unique. I tell you, it's so durable. It feels like when you're in WA for a couple of days that all the weight of the East, as they call us, and the economic woes here are almost non-existent in the conversation, at least in Western Australia.
Have they broken away completely from Australia yet?
I think they'd
Have they seceded?
like to. We'd probably vote with them, wouldn't we? They're doing a bit better than we are at the moment, aren't they?
Yes.
If you look at just on, I don't want to get political, but it is a bit sobering when you go to WA and you see just this beautiful state, wonderful, self-created wealth within the state and the natural minerals, and then you think more
And crab pots. Everyone's got a crab pot.
then you think
Haven't they?
more broadly around Australia right now. So it's hard not to. I'm a positive guy, as you know, and I don't let myself get into this mindset, Damo.
Well, what I'll give you, you say you don't, and you present as though you don't, but I think you do deep down. But to your credit, you always present positively on everything.
So I'm just lurching into kind of the role of Damo will be temporarily played by me here.
Here we go.
But-
You're stereotyping me again.
Well, let me ask you the
90
question.
seconds in.
Let me ask you as a question rather than an opinion. When you look at our country and you see every natural resource, mineral, we could live on our own land, we could cut ourselves off from the water and be fine if we were committed to that quest.
The
right?
Iran war wouldn't affect us if we went down a certain path.
If we
Yep.
just
Yep.
unlocked everything that's within us and underneath
Instead
us,
of allowing others in to buy it all and then sell it off at low rates and not get anything back for it. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, so when you look on the news and you see the Prime Minister largely walking around Southern Asia with a jerry can at the moment. Please, can we have another one-day supply, please? The rest of the world must look at us and go, you wouldn't believe who was in my office today.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister turned up. Of who? No, Australia. What? The joint down there that's got everything. Yeah, no, he came. What do you want? He wanted a day's worth of petrol. They're only down to 21 days of diesel. Australia are down to 21 days. No, that's a typo on the...
The source of that diesel and petrol having been bought from Australia initially.
Yeah, we've got two refineries and one of them mysteriously catches fire at the exact inappropriate time.
Did he visit that site as well? I think he went down there too, didn't he? Just to see what was going on with the recovery.
It was a picture opportunity if ever I saw one waiting to happen. He went for the pickup.
Yep.
He left the car running for the pickup.
I've never seen you so political. That's as political a statement you've ever made on this show.
Well, it might be, but I look at the news and I think, how have we got ourselves in a spot where we're walking around another continent with a jerry can? That's exactly what's happening.
I'll tell you, geez, we've got off topic here nice and quickly and nice and early. David Pocock's work on social media, former rugby union great.
Yep.
I'm right in saying, aren't I? Yeah. And now politician, is he trying to keep people to account? And it's got through my sort of
Has it?
algorithms.
The algorithms found you.
No, I think he's, again, I don't know I don't even know which party he's with, but he's very good in this space. And even before this war started with Iran, which has caused the supply crisis, he was onto the fact and got some genuine cut through with the fact that this country makes more money out of taxes on cigarettes, which are
which
outlets
is
are being
declining.
which is declining because of the taxes.
Because of the illegal
than it
offshore.
does on providing fuel and gas and everything else to the world.
Yeah, and we've cut our cigarette tax almost in half by the fact that we let an offshore market develop around us. Yeah, we're going well, aren't we?
Yeah. Where'd those 3 minutes go? 4 minutes ago?
By the way, imagine the algorithm. Those who design the algorithms must just tick the box. They must have electronically ticked the box with you before they've even thought it. Like, you're the easiest find on an algorithm.
Well, no, he must have once driven
cynicism.
No, he must have once driven.
Pessimism.
He must have once driven an American muscle car because that would have cut through my algorithm. And he must have cooked a nice dish somewhere. 'Cause that's all I follow on Instagram. I've never posted on Instagram. I have got an account. We couldn't even know what the password is. Yeah.
Hey,
Big week.
Switching gears a bit to football for a minute, and we'll get to Elijah Hollands, and we're feeling for him and concerned for him. So we should acknowledge that before we get into it, because the human being and how they are is much more important than anything else that goes on in the game of footy. We'll get to that. I just want to start with Zach Butters last night. There's a couple of things on this in the media front, right? So Zach Butters was cleared last night.
Well, he wasn't cleared. There was just inconclusive proof or a technicality that he may have said or not said something. Yes.
So if I said to you that this would happen in a sequence, this is what happened in a sequence, as best I read it, right? Tell me if I got any of this wrong.
Yep.
Because I was thinking about this might be a cartoon. A respected player gets accused of saying something inappropriate to an umpire.
And reported in the moment.
Yep.
By umpire.
There's no audio stunningly available at that moment, despite the fact you can hear everything at any time and anything. There's no audio.
Yep.
There's missing audio or muffled audio.
No, there's just no audio of the actual moment. Yep.
Then he does an interview on the ground as a losing captain, which offends everyone.
As a losing captain, yes.
Come back to the losing captain in a moment. Then he goes to the tribunal. The tribunal takes 3 days to hear a $1,500 fine. So the umpire and player and league can't sort that out in mediation for 3 days.
Hang on, are you going down a path that the tribunal system's broken, Hutchie? Because I've been banging on about this for 20 years. Please don't tell me you've woken up to this being broken.
No,
please.
I'm going through this.
Keep going. I like your timeline.
One of the tribunal members has to leave early.
Yep.
For a real estate commitment.
To open a house for inspection.
Open for inspection.
Yep. Having already been told by a chairman of the panel that the case itself had to be wrapped up quickly because there was a pre-existing requirement in that person's diary to attend a family
I'm getting to that
requirement.
Yeah, stay with me.
No, I'm just trying to hurry you up. This is all old news, Hutchie.
Okay. the chair goes, you go, Jason, you get in the car. I've got a parent-teacher interview myself.
Yes.
And then in the defence, that's the whole defensive port. We can't have his case because it's outrageous.
Well, don't forget, he's played another game of football since that first tribunal case.
And in the Port Adelaide Legal Council arguing last night says we need a more professional standard of tribunal.
Yeah.
And as he's arguing for the idiocy of Jason Johnson leaving early and the chair having got a parent-teacher, his dog starts barking uncontrollably to the point where they can't stop the dog and he has to go on mute to get the dog under control. Welcome to $1 billion industry, Damo. 9 days of...
Oh, my goodness.
That's a cartoon, isn't it? If I said to you that's going to be the sequence of events...
It's got every element
we
of
won't
that.
stand for this lack of professionalism. Woof, woof.
Actually, I've got, and I have been banging about this for ages, but I've got as much a problem even 2 weeks earlier where, do you recall Will Hayward of the Carlton Footy Club belting or putting a fist into the guts of George Ward in a split-second football moment? You know, they took close to 3 hours to determine that case, that indeed he did make contact with George Ward. 3 hours. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, there's no other sports body in the world that is allowing resources to be applied to such matters in 2026.
I just called off the tribunal.
I've said that too.
It doesn't exist. You just have a commissioner. They say this is what's happening. You go, we don't agree with that. And everyone goes, too bad.
You know who's to blame for all this, don't you? Well, when I say blame, I should take that back. But you know how this has come in? Adrian Anderson, lawyer. The lawyers look after the lawyers. Well, actually, we've got 2 appeals tribunals. We've got 2 tribunals. The tribunal itself is an appeal of the match review office finding. Do you agree with that? So why do you then need another mechanism to appeal the first mechanism of tribunal?
I'm with you.
Yep.
I would just shut it down.
Yeah.
But the reason why I wanted to get into it a bit more broadly was we like to go a bit behind the curtain on media here. So the losers interview on the ground, Damo.
It's a new thing.
It's a new thing. And
I'd say even like a past month new thing. Would that be fair?
yep.
Yeah.
And it's been a great initiative by Seven and I think by Fox as well. So anyway, in my view, my view on access is very well tabled and on the broadcast weight of power versus. So in my opinion, it's amazing it's taken this long. But congratulations to Seven and Fox who've got this up. I think led by Seven, but I don't want to get into the tin tacks of that. Anyway, on the ground you can interview a losing player, and that's a good thing. But we are seeing a level, I believe, Damo. These are my eyes observing, not anyone's told me, of media managers trying to micromanage the losing interview. So
Right.
I've seen a couple of times at games, media managers ask boundary riders, who do you want? Who are you going to get? Who's on your mind? And then run out on the ground, and try and get to that said player to brief them on the interview before the journo gets there. Now,
Well, they're trying to deal with the sports trauma of a loss of football.
You lost a game of footy.
You're in a different headspace.
You're an adult. You're entitled to wander over to a microphone and be trusted to give a reasonable answer. And the whole interest in the game is the raw, authentic response in that moment. It's not a Tuesday press conference where the dust is settled and you've had time to reflect. It's about real-time moments, and that's what the broadcaster's paying for. They're paying $400+ million, $600 million a year, or whatever the number is, somewhere in between.
Aren't these media people to whom you're referring, though, Hutchie, just doing their jobs? And if something is said in that moment, it's ultimately on their head as much as the player's head for that outcome.
It's not their fault because they shouldn't be allowed to do it, point blank. It's not their concern. On the field, there's a game on that the broadcaster are paying for, and if the broadcaster wants to go out and interview someone at the end of it, they can do it. The players are getting paid an awful lot of money to do that.
So it's an interesting point you raised.
If you're a media manager, you're trying to exert as much influence and control as you can, and they're enabled by their clubs.
Yep.
Got too much power in some instances, and trying to break the game into a very homogenised.
Well, you know what happens, and you lived this yourself when you were in the reporting game. You'd go to the media manager and say, "Can I speak to so and so and so and so?" And they'd come back to you like hours later, or a day later. No, he's not interested.
9 times out of
but
10
you
say no.
and this has happened. This has happened, and I don't play in this space either anymore. But I know this has happened at 2 separate footy clubs as recently as last week that I'm absolutely fully across. Where that media person has come back to the person asking for the interview, saying not interested. The person who they have requested wants to do it. On these 2 separate occasions that I can refer to even last week.
They're rarely even asked. If the club doesn't think it's in the club's interest, they won't even put that request to the player. Sometimes they just say they did. Like our media access, I'm a broken record, is archaic in
It's embarrassing.
AFL footy.
What about that rule they introduced 4 years ago? Every player available after a match.
Yeah, that was
we called that out in the moment they released it. It's never been executed, that deal.
So I love the initiative on the ground, and I think it's great from headquarters to allow that to happen. But what we now got is clubs trying to influence what's said and how it's said, and that shouldn't happen.
And your point there you've raised, I think is really significant because ultimately
That's
where the
Zach Butters situation started, right?
With
he
Xander Maguire.
Gave a very candid response of, I tried to talk to him afterwards, and that's a great moment where, I don't think the media manager got to him in that instance, by the way, but I think we've seen quite a bit of it in recent weeks. And you're seeing a raw reaction.
And that tribunal process we just outlined ultimately began in that moment with Xander Maguire post-match. Yeah, because the umpire in question, Nick Foote, got his back up at Zach Butters saying, "I never said anything," and that's where it started, and that's why it went through the process. So, hey, you mentioned that issue, and I just then mentioned Xander Maguire. I've been waiting for this week just gone for so long, Hutchie, with the tensions and alpha male activity that is going on in the Channel 7 newsroom on the back of Tom Morris finally being able to start in there. This is a big week for media in this town.
It is there hasn't been a more formidable group of newsbreaking journalists ever established at a network.
I don't care about that.
I'm
just talking about the individuals
my time, Damo,
and the power plays that are now already being seen.
No power plays.
Oh, don't get defensive just because you do a little show for Channel 7, Hutchie. You can just take our listeners back into the newsroom dynamic here, please.
Best story wins always. Simple.
Of course it does. It always has.
No different to the front of the news where there's 15 journalists fighting for the lead story every night.
Tom Morris joining Mitch Cleary and Xander Maguire inside this newsroom. How's it going to go, Hutchie?
I think it'll go wonderfully.
Yeah.
Mitch has had a fabulous year. I don't know if you saw Xander on the Agenda Setters the other night. He was fantastic on Wednesday night, and
He's fantastic every time he talks in a microphone.
yeah,
He's fantastic
he's
on
gonna
Friday
be
night footy.
a big star.
He already is a big star.
And Tom's arrived. So there you go. And Tom,
So there you
obviously
go. You want to shut this down, do you?
Tom's not, as best I understand it,
We're not shutting it down.
in the
Archie.
newsroom.
We've got to explore this.
He's not in the newsroom every day. He's on.
No, but he's going to want to go on the news when he's got a story. Don't give me he's not doing news. He will barge. He will just walk on set one night with Pete and just go, I've got one. And he won't tell anyone.
Best story always wins in life, don't it?
All right, we see you're trying to shut this down. I'm going to go deeper, Hutchie. So he's finally allowed to appear on Channel 7 because of the contractual standoff with Channel 9, and he decides to speak to Jackie Epstein. I love this, Hutchie, and I know you normally would, but you're clearly trying to shut this down. So he's got no regrets about defecting to Channel 7 is the opening to this article. I've had April 16th circled in my calendar for a while, Morris said. Now, Morris dismissed any talk of tension between himself, Cleary, and Xander Maguire in the chase for news. Now, I just want to read this paragraph, Hutchie, and this is alpha male. This is alpha male quote. I've got this question a few times. We've all got different skill sets. Maybe I'm more of a host than Mitch. So Mitch has been compartmentalised already. Mitch has been put in the box. He's not a host. And I'm interested to see how that one works. When I look at Mitch, he goes further. When I look at Mitch, I think of someone who is across details incredibly well. I'm butting back into the quote here. That's almost condescending. Now, I know you wouldn't mean that to come across that way, but Mitch is across details. I'm back onto the quotes. Fundamentally in tune is Mitch with footy on a daily basis, and then cricket sets me apart. So, again, he's removing himself from this situation. I've worked with Xander before, and I coached him in cricket. Again, Xander's been put down. I coached Xander. We all have mutual respect for each other. He said. He continues on. It was one of the real attractions to host a magazine show and build it from scratch alongside a gun newsbreaker in Mitch, and best analyst in the game in Nick Revolt. Now, that's going to get people's noses out of joint too, because he's now identified Nick as the best analyst in the game, despite there being a stable of them. Archie, this is power play 101.
You've taken some creative license there, Damo.
No, I've just read back what he said himself. He coached Xander, so he's got Xander covered.
We did.
And Mitch...
That was an illustration of their existing relationship.
Mitch is across details incredibly well. Yep. And then, Hutchie, on day one of this, or effectively day one of this arrangement, Tom Morris, Xander Maguire, Mitch Cleary, story breaks.
I know the one you're going to talk about. It was
story breaks.
Innocuous one. It was steel side bottom or something being out or something like that, wasn't it?
This is brilliant. Yep. This is day one, effectively day one of this new triumvirate of operators and alpha males in the Channel 7 news operations. Tom Morris explaining how this steel side bottom, who was not going to be playing against Carlton, story came to be.
It's a hip pointer issue, like a corky to the hip pointer, so he can't really move. As broken by Xander Maguire and Mitch Cleary and myself all simultaneously.
Yeah, how does that happen?
Well, what happened here was Mitch was at the club, and when Craig McRae said it, he tweeted it. I had called Tash Lewis from Collingwood earlier because I was on radio doing Waitley, saying he's left the track, and she said, I'll text you when I know what's going on. So she texted me. I was unaware that McRae was talking at the same time, and then I don't know what happened with Xander, but it all happened at the same time.
I can't talk.
Well, what that is, and well picked up, it's great audio.
He's giving his source up
It's
too,
an
Tash.
illustration of the domination of the 7 crew. When you're getting three-pronged, you're getting pants 3 times before you get the information.
Oh, here we go.
As broken by Xander Maguire and Mitch Cleary and myself.
Hang on, leave the other bit in. All simultaneously. Just go one more time, please. Hang on, one more. Clear out.
As broken by Xander Maguire and Mitch Cleary and myself, all simultaneously.
Yeah. All simultaneously, Hutchie.
And you better get used to it. That's going to be. You're going to be Willie at one end and Tom at the other, and you're going to get the whole box and dice.
And then the online articles that heralded the official arrival of Tom Morris. So we're being described now as this all came through in the first story that Tom may have broken on since joining Channel 7. The reference, not just report of, it's Gun 7 news reporter Tom Morris in one reference, and 1 hour later, 7 Sport expert Tom Morris. These descriptions are going to be wild and varied.
Are you going to keep a dossier on the descriptions?
I don't think I've got the resource to do it, Hutchie.
Well, it's an absolute domination at the moment. One network smashing the others.
What our listeners will do, though, now that they're onto it, and they're already onto it anyway, they're smart people, our listeners, they will bring us the information on this.
I'll tell you what, I have had a bit more of a ringside seat at is because I've been so removed from newsrooms for 15, 20 years. So we've talked about our theories on this, but I haven't actually really seen it firsthand until recently.
Yep.
Gee, there's a race to the phones now on Twitter in the newsrooms these days. Like, people want the time code of what time they dropped it.
Simultaneously.
Well picked up, Damo. Well picked up. It wasn't too bad.
It's a good watch this space one for us anyway, so that's going to be something to watch. What did you make, Hutchie? And I'm really strong on this, and I feel that Ross Lyon, the person who's the focus of our next topic, lives in a world where he's not challenged, and he likes it that way. The people around him, and look, I can almost hear Andrew Bassett, the chairman or the president of the St Kilda Footy Club, and the CEO, Carl Delena, and others around him, maybe even Lenny Hayes, who's the footy boss, will be saying, well, of course I push back on Ross. But Ross lives in a world, in the way I see it, as one in which he's not challenged. So when he gets to another loss, as he did on the weekend just gone, 2 wins, 4 losses in this season in which they wanted to make significant inroads, and might still, 17 matches remaining, that needs to be tabled. But he gets very, I feel, at points and at times, mannerisms are disrespectful to media. So he had an exchange with a journalist after the most recent loss. And then Andrew Bassett felt the need to, in his eyes, contextualise where Ross is at.
Did Adelaide play finals?
Died.
Did Adelaide play finals last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One final, 2 finals?
Yeah.
2. Did they make a prelim? No. I can't remember. I would think if you take out win-loss, we've improved.
And I think Ross is much better with good questions than he is with bad questions. I copy myself from time to time. If I ask a question he thinks is stupid, and I think, ask stupid questions, win stupid prizes.
I don't want to get too defensive, but they weren't stupid questions. I watched it back for the purpose of talking about it. They weren't stupid questions.
Not at all. And part of his appeal is he's so interesting and theatrical in press moments. So you're gonna live with the occasional. It wasn't an outburst. It was probably an entirely condescending response. It was inappropriate from Ross. But I'll choose to live with that.
No, I did too. And I just want to finish off on that. When I say he doesn't get challenged, I lovingly refer to him as Ross the Boss. I think Ross the Boss persona is better than the other persona of Ross.
Yep.
So, but you can see pressure mounting though, can't you?
Yeah, the clock's ticking a little bit on this strategy quickly.
And Andrew Bassett, a very, very, very smart businessman, he obviously has backed Ross to the hilt, as chair and presidents of footy clubs do. Yep. But he's on the hook for Ross to get a result.
I think he did the right thing to defend his coach. Probably
did he need to? Did he need to?
I think when asked the question in a scheduled interview, you do it.
That's fair enough.
Not sure he absolutely nailed the response either.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't their best.
And that's fair enough. He was asked.
Wasn't their best media weekend. But, really live with that with Ross because he's interesting. I think when Ross goes into asking you questions mode, which was an old
deflection.
Dennis Pagan and Kevin Sheedy almost wrote the book on that, didn't they? At Malthouse.
Yep.
They ask you questions, make you uncomfortable, put you into bad situations. You've got to be red hot. When you go down that path, A, you're going to come across as condescending, and B, you're going to wear some heat. Yeah. So C, you better be accurate. Did you see here Ross sort of lurch into the preliminary final at Adelaide, then had to do a U-turn because he forgot they didn't make the prelim?
Yeah, he forgot they were out in the straight sets.
You better be accurate. Did they make the prelim?
No, and he said they're thinking they finished top of ladder. Normally gets them to prelim, but didn't quite. Hutchie, you've been also across this supply crisis, as you dubbed it last week.
The supply crisis.
Can you set it
Makes
up
me
again?
Uncomfortable talking about it, Damo.
No, it doesn't. I know you get great glee about this. Can you set it up again for those who may be listening for the first time?
Well, the supply crisis has been, since the Herald Sun dropped the Mr. Big story and the AFL's media manager, Jay Allen, was featured
as a Melbourne man about town.
In a photo shoot style situation. And underneath you and I spotted.
Well, you spotted.
Photo supplied. So photo supplied dropped underneath Jay. And then there was a second instance during Gather Round where he and Scott Fitzgerald.
At the Penfolds launch.
Better known as the Fridge, who runs the venue. Were
Marvel Stadium.
Were snapped in doing
another man about town
photo shoot. Yeah. So, and again, it said photo supplied and picture supplied underneath. So, I pointed to the fact I thought there was a supply crisis at the AFL where the man who organises the snappers has turned himself into being snapped. So Jay Allen, or Snapper Allen, as he's now known, he only travels with his own snapper.
Supplied Allen.
So, picture supplied has bobbed up twice, and there's a supply crisis because he's spending less time organising the photos and more time in the photos. It hit my desk, Damo.
Did it?
That there's a third potential photo supplied issue coming.
Oh, no.
The there's a new restaurant opening at Marvel, which, by the way, has some fabulous entertainment in it now. If you haven't been to some of those places, in there,
Brilliant food
wonderful.
joints.
Yep. And they've done the tour of the food media on Thursday, and I believe both.
So Cara Monson, Herald Sun.
I'm not sure who, but I believe it's a great picture opportunity, right? And so I believe that Snapper Jay Allen was there.
Hang on, this has happened. What you're referring to?
I haven't seen the photos yet, but I'm told.
So when the restaurant launches, be on the lookout.
I'm told that there was a photographer following both Jay
Oh no, there wasn't.
and Fridge around to take
Why is he
photos.
Fridge? Sorry, I'm not.
It's his
familiar
old
with-
footy nickname, I think,
Okay.
from his days, and he's a big full forward.
He's a big man.
Yeah,
Yep.
Well, he's doing a great job running the venue. But the two of them, I believe, have both got on the tour parade, and photos were taken. Now I don't know whether they were external photos or whether they've supplied their own snapper. But the photo supply crisis could have a third instalment ahead of it. And I'm on the watch out in the papers. If I see Jay and Scott Fitzgerald bob up for a third time, and there's a byline that says photo supplied in this, do you know what I think's happened? I think this is a direct attempt to compete with the Adelaide Oval's tourism product at Marvel. The Adelaide Oval have got the roof climb, and the AFL have got the social climbers. Go down to the AFL, get your picture taken with the social climbers. The social climbers will show you around the venue. They'll bring their own photograph. They'll supply you the photograph afterwards. All media. It'll get sent to you. Jay will be in it. He'll be in a new shirt or a new T-shirt, or he'll have a 3-day growth.
Always looks $1 million.
So the social climbers.
There's no supply crisis, Hutchie. There's a supply surplus here.
There is a supply crisis at the AFL.
No longer. Not if they get up a third time. Hey, I noticed during the course of the past week there was a documentary on arguably the greatest jockey this country has seen, J-Mac. James McDonald Hutchie, who just rides winners every single week and every second week seems to add another Group 1 to his record. I raise this. Now, I also say this to you and our listeners. I haven't watched the documentary myself, but I've had many people who have tell me that it was very, very, very New South Wales focused, to the point where the multiple Cox plates and multiple successes J-Mac has had in Victoria, depending on who you wanted to place most faith in, were either completely ignored or given the scantest of references in this overall celebration of one of the greatest jockeys we've ever seen.
It was a Race in New South Wales production, so you don't expect them to fund the production and then promote the opposition, do you?
What, Cox plates aren't worthy of referencing in a
I don't think
CV?
it was ignored, but there was certainly a greater focus on his work in Sydney, wasn't there? Well, which it would be if you were funding it, Damo.
Well, that's, you know my phrase, Hutchie, and maybe I've learnt this from you 20 years ago, but you know my phrase, follow the money. So I've attempted to follow the money. So when you say who funded the project, was it a Racing New South Wales project?
I believe so.
I gave that impression.
I read that it was. Yeah, I think they produced it, and good on them, because that would have cost, I would assume, a lot more to make than they would have retrieved from it in any placement of it. It was more of they were being a citizen of the industry rather than
a citizen of the industry.
Well, they would have lost money on it. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, no doubt about that.
Was it well produced?
I haven't seen the full, but the clips I've seen were fabulous.
So has Racing New South Wales got a similar media arm to Racing.com in Victoria?
Well, not nearly as big, no.
Okay, so it's distributed on Fox Sports.
Yep.
So, look, I'm following the money as best I can. I found out the actual launch of it in Sydney was a old-fashioned, old-school Sydney who's who in attendance.
It would have been, yep.
It would have been. You would have been there, I'd imagine.
I wasn't. I couldn't attend.
Were you invited?
Well, I would have liked to have gone.
That's yes. So, again, everything that happens in that racing space in Sydney is got a direct line to Peter V'landys. So, did he commission the documentary, possibly?
I read that was their production. I don't know specifically, yeah.
And I'd imagine he's probably lent on a broadcaster vying for the other sport that he's in control of, that being the rugby league, National Rugby League, to maybe distribute the said product on.
What do you mean?
James McDonald. I'm just asking the question: is it possible that there's been a little coming together with Foxtel and Racing New South Wales here as part of a wider? Let's keep sweet with Pete over the whole.
Well, if they did, it was good business, but I don't reckon that would be the case. They've got they're pretty invested in the racing industry themselves. Foxtel, they've got 526 and 527 and 528
528, yep.
and 529, haven't they?
They're on regular
Yep.
rotation on my station.
So and he is the greatest of all time now. So
PVL or JMac?
or both. I like your conspiracy theories, though, Damon.
It might be a conspiracy theory, but I do follow the money.
They always interest me.
I know a lot of people in the horse racing industry actually worship the breeders in the game. I noticed yesterday there's 2 retirements of horses that are still 3 years of age and they're off to the breeding barn. One of my already favourite, Observer, won the Derby last year, and then Tentaurus. 3-year-olds just going back to the breeding barn, not racing beyond 3. I know it's happened in the past and that'll happen again, but I don't like it, Hutchie.
The values are too high, aren't they?
And then that happened a week after the Winx foal. Remember the celebration of Winx, the Winx foal being bought for $10 million, effectively by the owner or person who had shares in the ownership of Winx, paid $10 million. Never raced.
Yep.
Do you reckon $10 million, Hutchie? When you own Winx anyway, you didn't have to sell it. You could have just raced it, or at least trained it to not race.
Yep.
$10 million.
Yeah,
Where'd that go?
You'd be annoyed, wouldn't you? Hey, we should touch on Carl Stefanovic because it's been an ongoing thread in the sounding board this year.
I can't believe how much traction your theories on this have got.
I'm now having to choose my words pretty carefully because I've become like the Neil Harvey of this topic getting quoted in the Sydney paper. So
You were quoted again last week.
So the Daily Telegraph wrote a story on April 12 and Sky News on April 15. So News Limited are off and running. When I say News Limited, I think, to be fair, it's news.com.au, not necessarily the heraldsun.com.au.
And a reminder for why you're distinguishing that, please.
Well, I was taught last week that there's a clear distinction between the two.
How'd that go, that conversation being relayed publicly? Was there any pushback to that?
Jackie thought it was off the record. And I said, welcome to my world.
Jackie, as I've said to Jackie, nothing's off the record with Jackie.
She was a great sport about it.
Was she?
Yep. Now, let's... So, a couple of interesting...
It's not off the record with Caro either, Hutchie, just while we're at it. But anyway.
April 15, Sky News wrote that Carl Stefanovic hasn't promoted the Today Show on his social media accounts for nearly a month.
Oh, this is good.
So his Instagram is predominantly filled with clips of himself doing various interviews and breached a number of topics on his independent podcast project. This is become like a whole sounding board recap.
But you... Again, when did you first go with this? This is episode 12 of this season. I reckon you went with it back in episode 1 or 2 this year.
I think we went with it
even last year.
On the pre-promote of the first episode.
Yeah, you might have. Okay, let's go. You've been going with this for 3 months as a minimum. Yeah.
So there's a watch on from News on when Carl or if Carl posts on his socials. I haven't seen if he has since doubly, so I might get you to have a look at that and see if anything has happened since then on the weekend. But clearly, his energy in social promotion is entirely in his own world. Either that or
his team
been able to negotiate out of his deal the need to, or maybe Nine can't afford the access now on his socials. Who knows? But
follow the money again, Hutchie. That's
yep.
So W's just handed Hutchie the account. Doesn't look
there's
like
not much there.
No, he's pushing. Yep. And then on April 12, they wrote. They face uncomfortable reality about the millions of viewers and potential advertisers, which we did touch on as well. So
you went with this 3 months ago.
It is going to be a long 8 months.
And what's the Sky News one? 3 days later?
Well, they're still working for Channel 9? ?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, he
and
is.
Nine faces rival as Carl Stefanovic's podcast chases its advertisers.
I'd imagine he'd be on the on Channel 9 right now as we're talking, wouldn't he? I can't imagine why he wouldn't be.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's your view of this, Damo? It's right in News Limited's alley, isn't it? Because
when would the contract for the host of a breakfast show be up? I know you've told me
end of this year.
End of year. So are we talking like financial type
early
October 30?
Yeah, probably December 31. Probably
December 31. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm only knowing anything about this from what you brought to this table. I'm fascinated by see what happens next.
Yeah, I am too. Because it would be, and you put yourself in either. It's a bit of a tricky one for both of them, isn't it? Be a tricky one for Nine, I would think.
You've even suggested that the whole slot that has been vacated by Kyle and Jackie O is up for Carl if he wanted.
No, I said I read that they're
you read
talking to him.
You suggested that the billboards with it says Kyle and Jackie O just take out the YLE and make it
ARL. There you go.
So, all right.
We get through everything.
Yeah, we've just one more thing I might.
You worried about the Saudi money coming out of sport, or you?
was buyer beware with that money, wasn't it? Are you worried about it?
Well, it's going to have a knock on for sure in sport. Like it's not, it's not now that the sport has been lit up with Saudi money.
And Live Golf is the one that's in the focus right now. But what other reaches has it got?
And leaving aside your view of that in the first place, which we long ago dealt with on the sounding board, it's now entrenched in world sport, isn't it? So,
remind me, is there a DAZN link to this?
No, not I believe. But I just don't think it's a good thing for anyone, is it?
No, but surely it couldn't have been sustained, could it?
Well,
what we
haven't officially withdrawn, but that's the vibe, isn't it?
Not trying to say that we were saying things that other people weren't saying at the time, Hutchie, but what it has clearly done is taken the competitive beast elements out of the golfers that they signed up, hasn't it? Given the money was there up front.
There'll be a few
and the need to perform to make money has been removed, and the way that those golfers now seem to be just in a haze when they play, as opposed to the driven likes of, for instance, a Rory McIlroy who's gone back to back in a US Masters.
There'll be a few cap in handers, I think.
You think so?
Yep. Be back to the tour. We parked Western Sydney last week and we didn't get to it, so we'll do that again next week.
Yep.
And
there's something else here on the running sheet that you've tabled. Did you want to get there as well or not?
Don't try to get me to do your heavy lifting.
No, I don't even know what it's about. No, we don't even get to it. You know it. You've tabled it. I don't know what it's about. I know what the story is.
I don't believe I tabled it.
Well, you've asked for audio, but we'll leave it alone. That's what we do. We're a team on this show, and you clearly don't want to go with it now, having tabled it.
I don't know anything about it.
Well, I don't either. So, unless Dudley's tabled it without either of us knowing, but might be time to wrap it up. Actually, it's sort of got a little bit lost here in the last 3 minutes.
That'll do us.
Yeah. Episode 12, Series 11, sounding board for Drink Wise. If you're choosing to drink, choose to drink wise.